Hey everybody, this is D Hunter, bringing another action figure review. Today, we're going to look at the Jazwares Total Anime Chainsaw Man. Now, I'm aware of Chainsaw Man. He's pretty ridiculous. He has a chainsaw for a head, or a face, and arms as well. And there have been some premium figures of him out there. I didn't want to pay a whole bunch, but I found out there's this Jazwares figure, only $19. Saw him in the store, so I thought, why not? It's a pretty cool, crazy design, and I can find somewhere to fit into my action figure world. So let's take a look at the packaging. As you can see, Chainsaw Man. Total Anime, Chainsaw Man. This is the second figure of the Total Anime line. One side of the package, Chainsaw Man. Other side, same thing. At the back, here he is. Here are some other figures that are Total Anime line. At the bottom, there's the barcode, if that happens to help anybody. So with no further ado, let's open him up. Alright, now that this figure out of the package, here he is with all his accessories laid out. He comes with two different alternate chainsaw hands from the forearm down, two different heads, and an alternate mouthpiece. Before we take a look at all that, let's talk about and check out the figure. So this is Chainsaw Man from, well, Chainsaw Man. It's an anime story. It follows the story of Denji, an impoverished teenager that makes a contract that fuses his body with that of Pochita, the dog-like chainsaw devil, granting him the ability to transform parts of his body into chainsaws. If it sounds ridiculous, that's because it is. But it's visually very weird, very different, and very interesting. So I picked this guy up at Walmart a while ago for no real good reason besides the fact that he looks interesting. I'm a sucker for suited guys. He was cheap, and I thought maybe he could be a themed character in my action figure world. I'm sure I can find some instances where it'll be useful to have this guy. So let's take a closer look. Now, this is a Jazwares anime figure. It's not like horrible, but it does feel kind of on the cheap side. But it's also price point, kind of a cheap figure. So looking at his head, his tongue sticking out, you can see his teeth. He's got this chainsaw covered in blood sticking out of his forehead. I mean, it's just a ridiculous notion. Like his whole head is a chainsaw. You can even see the handle on top. As you go down, what makes it more ridiculous is he's in regular clothing, a button-up white shirt with a tie, tennis shoes, regular pants, double-jointed knees, double-jointed elbows. The chainsaw is actually coming out of his arms. There's blood coming, what looks like out of him, and all over the chainsaw. I mean, it's kind of a gory thing. It's a very gory thing. Now, the chainsaw itself kind of has a little bit of give to it. I mean, it's not like rubbery exactly, but that's probably ideal because you don't want it to sort of break. I mean, the detailing, it's decent. I think there's a more expensive version of this figure out there. And a closer look at his face and head sculpt. Bizarre to say the least. And then, here's the figure, broken down as far as he can go, with all of his removable parts detached. Now let's check out his accessories. And remember how I said the figure felt kind of crappy and cheap? Well, it has a lot of quality control issues. One of the mouths, the sort of bottom part has fallen off, the glue came loose. I can fix that pretty easily, and it stays in without the glue, but just annoying. And then, one of his hands, this one here, no, it was this one, has a bunch of extra excess plastic inside of here. I mean, look at that. It looks like shit. It's sticking out. It has extra piece inside. I tried heating it up and shoving it in. That wasn't the issue. I have to literally rip this thing off, cut it down, and put it back on there, and that sucks. It's almost worth returning getting another one. So I guess this guy won't be using the fist on his right hand. Let's start off by looking at his hands. He has 4 different hands from the forearm down, 2 fists, and 2 open hands. Here he is with his first pair of hands. These are his fists. And here's his alternate pair of hands. These are his open hands. Now let's check out his head. He has 2 different top parts of his head. The only differences are one has less blood, and one has more blood. And then he has 3 different mouthpieces to attach to the heads. One has the mouth shut, one has his mouth open, and one has his tongue sticking out. Here he is with his first head and the first top. This one has less blood on it and has the mouth shut. And then here he is with the alternate top part of the head. This one has more blood on the chainsaw. Here's his first alternate mouth. This one has the mouth open, and then his second alternate mouth. This one has the mouth open and his tongue sticking out. Now that we've taken a pretty good look at the figure and his accessories, let's check out his height. From bottom to the very top of his head, standing about 6.6 inches tall, which can translate to just under 17 centimeters. And if you go to the top of the handle on his head, probably about 6.8 inches tall. And for his articulation. So, starting with his head, he can rotate side to side. He can look up and down quite a bit. He can tilt his head from one side to the other. He has articulation both at the top of the neck and the bottom. Pretty good range of motion. Shoulders, a ball joint, goes up way more than 90 degrees. Up, down, around. He's got a butterfly joint, forward and back motion. Really good range of motion there. Rotation, almost like a bicep cut. He's got rotation here, because there's a peg joint inside of there. Double jointed elbows. So he can do quite a bit with these chainsaws. Now, the chainsaw itself does absolutely nothing. It's just sort of there. And he has a sort of cut where his wrist is, which doesn't do anything except look ugly. Torso, he's got a ball joint. Rotate around, forward and back quite a bit. Another one is waist. Rotate around, forward and back just a little tiny little bit here. Way more in the torso. Between the two, pretty good range of motion. Legs, completely does the splits. Ball joints, he kind of has drop down hips. Push them back up. They go forward all the way. Back not much. He has rotation against the little joint there. Double jointed knees. And his ankle, forward and back the tiniest bit. No real rotation. A little bit of tilt and rock, or quite a bit rather. So, he actually has a ton of articulation for this price point. Here's a look at Chainsaw Man in the city streets, going berserker, and a little further back view of everything going on here. Now let's check him out next to some other action figures, starting off with some other chainsaw type figures. Here he is, next to a couple of NECA Texas Chainsaw Massacre Leatherface figures. Then, next to a Hostile figure, another chainsaw yielding maniac. Now let's check him out next to some other anime figures. Here he is, next to several different anime figures. These are from Bandai's anime line. A little bit different sort of style than Jazwares. I think I prefer the sort of style of Jazwares, a little bit more realistic. And I hate to say it, both companies have sort of a crappy kind of feel to them, like they're cheap figures. And they are, price-wise, pretty cheap figures. Here he is, next to a couple of recent McFarlane anime figures from My Hero Academia. And here, next to some older McFarlane anime figures. Now let's check him out, next to some action figures from different various companies, so we can see how he fits in both scale and style-wise, in case you want to know which lines you can mix him with. Since he's a Jazwares figure, he's more or less the 6-inch scale. I'm going to start off my comparisons with some of these smaller action figure lines I collect, and work my way larger. But first, let's check him out with some other Jazwares figures. On the left, we have some Jazwares Fortnite figures, which are considerably smaller, and on the right, some Jazwares AEW wrestling figures, which are a similar size to him, at least height-wise, but his overall body proportions are considerably smaller. And now, with some SH Figure Arts and Hasbro Marvel Legends, here's Chainsaw Man next to a pack of Twizzlers, and here he is next to some Mafex and Mattel DC figures. Then, with some Mezco Collective and Mattel wrestling figures. Next, with some NECA and DC Direct figures. And finally, with some McFarlane and Diamond Select toys. So overall, the Chainsaw Man figure, it's cool, but it's kind of the crappy side of things. I don't exactly like the way the plastic feels. It's not that bad. The chainsaw gets bent kind of easily, but it can be fixed also. His articulation is actually pretty impressive. But it's also limited at the same time. Like, can't do anything with his wrists, and I understand it. He has no rotation in his feet, and it's easily a place they could have put a cut in there. His accessories and different interchangeable looks are kind of cool, but the whole point of this figure is just visually so weird, bizarre, and interesting. But sort of the novelty of just having a figure like this is kind of the fun part of it, even if you're not a fan of the show. It's also fairly priced. It was like $19. If I were to rate this figure, well, He has some serious issues with quality control. That makes me want to give him sort of a 5, but the articulation is very impressive for a cheap figure like this, I'd say. I'm going to give him a 6. It's a good figure. Could be better. Like I said, I think there's a more expensive version from another company. So if you want to really get serious with your Chainsaw Man figures, there's other options. But this, I'd say, is a very fair figure for the price. But mine does have some issues, which I think are unique to mine, especially that hand thing. That's just BS. So this is D Hunter. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked the video, press a like below. If you have anything you want to save the video, add to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you for watching, and I will talk to you guys real soon.